He was sitting in the back of a van, waiting. He had been there for days. The engine was off, the street was quiet, people walked past, no one stopped, no one knew. Inside that van, in a parking lot outside an auto parts store in Fresno, California, a dog named Canelo stayed beside the only person he had ever known. His owner had died from a heart attack. And Canelo didn't leave. He didn't leave for days. When police finally arrived to do a welfare check, Canelo was still there, growling, snapping, barking at anyone who came close. It took officers 4 hours to get him out. His kennel card at the shelter said one word to describe him: scary. And that's how this story almost ended. Most people, when they hear about a dog in a shelter, imagine the fix is simple: a new family, a warm bed, a fresh start. We tend to believe that dogs are adaptable, that they move on quickly, that love is transferable, that a good home heals everything. It's a comforting idea. It feels true, but it isn't. Researchers who study the canine mind say something very different is happening inside a dog who has lost their person, something most of us never see. Something that looks, from the outside, like aggression, but is actually something far more heartbreaking. The science of canine grief is still young, but what it's revealing is changing how we understand dogs entirely. Dr. Mark Bekoff, Professor Emeritus of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology at the University of Colorado Boulder, has spent decades studying animal emotions. He describes dogs as deeply social beings, emotionally wired for attachment in ways that run through their entire nervous system. Brain imaging studies show that when dogs experience emotional loss, the same regions of the brain that light up in grieving humans become active in them too. The neurological signature of grief in dogs and in people looks remarkably similar. A 2022 study published in Scientific Reports surveyed hundreds of dog owners and found that the vast majority of dogs showed measurable behavioral changes after the loss of someone they were bonded to: reduced appetite, increased lethargy, withdrawal, fearfulness, and a disruption of sleep. These weren't subtle shifts. These were dogs whose entire behavioral profile changed. Dogs who, from the outside, could look broken, could look dangerous, could look like they weren't worth the trouble. A 2024 study examining dogs who had lost their primary caregivers found that a significant number showed signs of what researchers called grief-like depression withdrawal from social interaction, a complete loss of interest in things they once loved. The grief wasn't temporary. It didn't resolve in days. For some dogs, the changes lingered for months. But here's the part nobody tells you. A grieving dog doesn't look sad. A grieving dog looks threatening, because when the nervous system is overwhelmed, when the brain's attachment system loses its anchor, the only response left is protection. A dog like Canelo wasn't being aggressive. He was doing the only thing left available to him. He was standing guard over the one relationship his entire life had been organized around. Think about what that means. For years, Canelo had known one person, one routine, one smell, one voice, one set of hands. Dogs don't experience the world the way we do through language, through abstract understanding, through calendar time. They experience the world through presence, through pattern, through the continuous physical reality of the person who is there every day. When that presence disappears without explanation, without transition, without any signal the dog can read or process, the brain doesn't receive the message he's gone. The brain receives something older and more primal, a signal that says something is wrong. Stay, protect, don't let go. Canelo stayed in that van for days, not out of confusion. He stayed because leaving felt like the final betrayal of the only love he had ever been certain of. Now think about what it looked like to the shelter. A growling dog, a biting dog, a dog who flinched and snapped and refused every hand that reached for him, a dog whose kennel card said one word: the shelter called rescue organization. Most declined. He was, by any standard evaluation, unadoptable. What the shelter saw as danger, the science sees as loyalty. What everyone else read as broken, one rescuer named Mel Garcia read differently. She runs a small nonprofit rescue in Fresno called Mel's Mutts. Every week, she receives emails from animal control kennel cards, small photos, brief descriptions of dogs in need. One week in November of 2024, she saw Canelo's card, found in a van, owner deceased. One word for his behavior. She said yes anyway. The shelter called back to confirm, warning her that he wasn't friendly, that he was growling, that he was trying to bite everyone who came near him. They weren't sure he was safe. She took him in. At the vet, a microchip revealed he had been with his owner since at least 2019, 5 years. Nearly his entire life spent with one person, living out of a van, moving through the world as a pair. When the vet filmed him that day, Canelo sat on the ground completely still, his fur matted, his body rigid, not growling now, just frozen, like a dog who had run out of whatever was holding him together. And here is the question that nobody in that room could answer yet. If a dog this traumatized, this withdrawn, this far inside his own fear, could he ever come back? Could something that had been broken that deeply find its way to whole again? What happens to thousands of dogs in his situation every year is this. They wait in shelters. They growl at strangers because strangers are not the person they're waiting for. They stop eating. They stop engaging. They are labeled difficult, dangerous, and in too many documented cases, that label becomes a death sentence. Shelters operate under enormous pressure, space, resources, time. A dog who is consistently evaluated as a bite risk, who cannot pass behavioral assessments, who shows no interest in human contact, is often euthanized not because the shelter wants that outcome, but because no other option presents itself. The grief inside the dog is invisible. The behavior it creates is not. We are losing grieving dogs because we are misreading them. Because the language of canine grief, the stillness, the snapping, the refusal, the vigil looks nothing like what we expect grief to look like. What Canelo's grief looked like was a dog who wasn't ready to let go. Back at Mel Garcia's home, something began to shift. Away from the shelter, away from the chaos. In a quiet space where no one demanded anything from him, Canelo began to breathe differently. He stopped biting. He stopped growling. He discovered there were other dogs there. And slowly, cautiously, in the way that only animals who have been through something real can manage, he began to play. Not because the grief was over, not because he had forgotten, but because even inside the deepest loss, something in a dog still reaches toward life. Something still knows warmth when it finds it. That is what actually happens when a dog loses the only person he ever loved. He doesn't adapt easily. He doesn't move on quickly. He carries it in his body, in his behavior, in the way he holds himself still and watches the door that will never open again. He carries it the same way grief is carried in any creature built for love. But he also, if someone gives him enough time, enough patience, enough quiet, finds his way back. After Canelo's story went public, more than 700,000 people watched the video of him sitting frozen at the vet. Adoption applications flooded in from across the country. A dog who arrived at a shelter labeled dangerous, unadoptable, scary had become a dog the world wanted to hold. He didn't change. The world finally saw him clearly. Dogs don't love us the way we love them. They love us more completely, without strategy, without condition, without any awareness that love will one day ask them to survive its absence. Canelo waited in that van for days because no one had told him yet that waiting was over, that the person wasn't coming back. In the end, what a dog teaches us isn't about loyalty. It's about what love actually costs and what it makes us capable of surviving. If you have ever had a dog wait for you at the door, I want to know, drop a comment about what that dog means to you. And if this video moved you, watch our next one on what shelter dogs know about humans that we don't know about ourselves. Every story matters. Every dog does too.